it's being recorded. Okay, very good. I think I missed a step last time, so I apologize. So welcome everyone. And I just also wanted everybody to experiment with the chat section there. Did everybody see the little chat bar? I want to open it up. You click on the little line that says chat, you can enter your message and you can say either to everyone or just to me. I'd rather to everyone. Okay, that's good. Janet says yes. What's also nice about GoToMeeting is that you can, the chat is also transcripted as well. So I should be able to send that to you. So if you want to send a resource to someone, that's on there too. All right, and I see Holly's acknowledging that too, and I see Jenny just joined us. So we've got a couple of other folks there. Very good. All right. So I'm flying solo today. Sue is not able to be with me, but she'll be with us for all the other sessions here, but she wasn't able to join me today. So I'm going to keep track of your questions on the chat. But if anyone sees a question that I missed, you're welcome to point it out to me. So today's topic in general is about marketing. I saw a lot of you were doing action plans and strategies associated with marketing. And then I focus in on the idea that a lot of you are trying to do marketing to get customers. And all of you call your customers different. Some of you are members, clients, end users. The aspect, there's broadening, marketing is a huge topic, but I thought we would focus in on the idea of developing partnerships so you have a regular referral network that will help you reach all of your clients. Let me just kind of move through these things here. And there's Sue's face, so she's there in spirit and not in person. Here's our agenda today. What we're going to do is we'll do this little topic. We'll do the check-ins first. And in the check-ins, in the check-ins, our normal check-in, what it is say something that happened either as a success or a challenge or something that happened since we met last, just a little 1-minute thing. But also share with us who is your ideal or typical customer. So that we'll do that with the check-in. Then we'll have a little kind of training piece where I'm going to share some of what I've learned about doing outreach and getting your customer. We'll have a discussion. We do have one of your peers that's going to share what they're learning about this topic. Holly's volunteered. And we have our Q&A clinic if we have time. If there's a burning question that you want to ask the group, that's a good spot to ask that, even if it doesn't have to do with today's topic. And then we'll do our wrap up. Okay. All righty. So starting with just our check-in. Again, this will be a routine. Friends of Hospice, just do a little brief, here's what's going on with us kind of thing. But then let's also describe who is your typical or ideal end user or beneficiary of what you do. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Jen was supposed to have signed on too. I haven't heard from her yet.
Okay.
But so this is Cynthia Wall, and so we just lost a board member. She's alive, but she has family obligations. So we're down to 7. And so one of the things we're really looking at, just in terms of a check-in, we really want to we want to target board members who can help us grow in the directions we want to grow in, who will have real administrative skills. So that's probably one of the biggest things. The other is that we have been contacted for a fundraising to be the benefit of a couple of different fundraising ideas, where people just are coming forward and saying, I want to do this thing, whether it's a put on the circus or a golf tournament. And so we are benefited by that, holding that and how to do that, how to move forward with that, how to say yes and take the risk of it being not in our control. In other words, it's done kind of in our name. We're in an odd place. I'm looking at the whole thing about partnership in that Friends of Hospice, our ideal client is really another nonprofit or a healthcare. It's an agency as opposed to individuals. because we want to get more and more of a tight, smooth understanding for agencies, nonprofits who serve people who are ill or injured or severely incapacitated and or dying, to reach out to us really in a quicker way. So our ideal client is other agencies who know of and help people who are ill or facing end of life.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia. Let's see, Jenny, I think I saw you click on there. Are you available to speak? Unmute yourself.
Okay, here I am. All right. I was just looking over our one-page business plan, and one thing that I'm finding as far as the business plan goes, and I'll get to the ideal customers, but just to check in and how we're doing with the business plan, is looking over it. I'm pleased that some of the items that we're starting to get to those actions, but some of the actions themselves may need a one-page business plan. They're not a simple action, so that's just another step that I'm finding I need to not look at that whole goal in that action step. And in particular, it's launching our new website. We were very, thinking we were going to get that done, just, get it done. And it's taking more time. It needs, I think, its own one-page business plan, working with our web designer to get the steps done and get that off our plate, because that's a huge part of our marketing. And so it's a very important piece. As far as who we are looking for as far as clients, we're looking for new board members to help to define our mission, keep state parks and education in state parks relevant, and provide stewardship for the state parks. We're looking for donors. A big part of our action plan is to develop a individual donor plan, and so that's a huge part of it, and volunteers to help us with our projects in the parks.
And as far as the end beneficiary of your work, it would be the people that attend the parks?
Yes, people that attend the parks and future generations. I mean, the parks are for everybody forever. So
okay, excellent. All righty, thank you, Jenny. And Tapestry Family Services, how about you all?
Hi, good morning. This is Kristen and Brandy. Since we last met, we have been really putting a lot of focus and energy into our upcoming fundraiser, which was part of our one-page business plan, which will be in May on the 20th. And so we've been really devoting a lot of time to that and getting it ready to go. It's our first annual event, so it's a lot of work and a learning curve for all of us, but that's been our focus. For our ideal or typical client, I wouldn't really use the word ideal, but our typical clients are children up to age 24, and they have either been exposed to some kind of trauma or have two functional impairments in different areas of their life, and that's kind of defined by our funding sources. So we don't get to set what our ideal client looks like. That's set for us by our funding sources to pretty much to that extent, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. Thank you. All right, and I'm going to, Holly did not get to, I'm going to bring up her one-page business plan here so she can tell us a little bit about her main strategies there and just a couple of things you want to get accomplished in the next 6 months. Holly, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, I'm here with Carol Aylshire. She's our treasurer on the board. And I was going to say our challenge is that we missed the first check-in, so we're playing catch up a little bit, but we're happy to be here. Let's see, with our strategies. Yeah, since this is sort of the first time we've checked in for a bit on our one-page business plan, and I'm happy to see that some of the things like the capital improvements, some of those strategies are moving forward of course, as our organization continues. Specifically on the grant to build a ceramics classroom, that is underway. And we're working on improving our internal systems. That's been happening. We both thought when we were talking about our ideal customer, we had the same idea as far as ours are members and members of the Art Center. And Carol and I both had the idea of a engaged visitor to the Art Center that also donates money. And Carol even specifically thought about one of our existing members that's kind of ideal.
You thought of another one who buys from us. One donates a lot and the other buys from our product. I wanted to say too that our typical client, like at Tapestry, is not necessary. I mean, ideal is different from typical. And I think the typical would be we want to be reaching members of the public and enhancing their lives through art. So in children, we're going to do classes and want to
increase our outreach.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All righty, and let me put that one away and come back to this. All righty, and I don't think did someone from the Grain School of Adaptive Agriculture call in or on the line there? I don't see them on there. Okay, and also from the Traditional Small Craft Association. Anyone on the phone? I didn't see that. Okay. Janet, how about you for Flockworks?
Sure. Well, good news is always coming in with its ups and its downs. We've applied for several different grants and just got one of them confirmed, which of course propels you to go in that direction that you just applied for the grant for. So accelerating some of the things that we thought we would do by now having the resources to at least halfway do it. This funder is notorious for wanting to fund things but not time. So now we have the things but not the time to back it up. So that's a delicious challenge. Then on the other one, we're waiting to hear, and the very lovely thing, if we get that one, we'll actually back it up with time, and we'll have the material side of it already in hand to move forward. So it's that challenge of reaching out for new resourcing and then having some of it come true. And if all of it came true, it would be a different package than if some of it comes true, and then you have that thing to pursue that you proposed. And like in terms of overall, this year we're trying to remake ourselves organizationally. So it's like we're working in 100 directions at the same time. So even though our strategic plan narrows it down in a certain way, it's all those big areas that we're all talking about. And working on them all simultaneously has its has its added challenge of the simultaneity of all of it. In terms of our ideal customers or partners, certainly artist leaders. Those are the ones that organize our exhibits that happen at Oddfellows, that do the outreach out into the community with different kinds of artful programs. And then on the other side of that, what we've launched this year is Friends of Flockworks. So as the Willits folks were talking about, the people who come, the people who buy, the people who participate in some other way, but the added part of they add some financial resource to make what we're doing viable, but beyond the volunteer time of it all. So that's kind of our ideal mix. And then of course, our collaborative partners that we work organizationally to bring creative support to what they're doing. And that's sort of our 3-tier of customer.
Okay, thank you. And Friends of the Long Valley Library, how about you folks?
Hi, this is Sean, and Susan sends her regrets. She couldn't join us today. We have been working on our birthday party, and that's going to be on March 18th. And so we have done a lot of outreach around that. We've done we've done mailers and invitations and going around and engaging the businesses in the community to sponsor the birthday party, and have brought in far more money than we need for the birthday party, which is lovely. And so we have some other, and planning the activities of the birthday party and all that has been very, very busy and intense. And our ideal client is really anyone who likes to read, needs help reading, loves to read, loves books, is curious, people who need the internet, and just about everyone with a heartbeat could be our client, because we're here to serve anyone who would want to use a library. We try to cover all those auxiliary services too, workshops, reading, literacy tutoring, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our ideal client.
Okay, very good. Did someone just join us? All right. Well, thank you. So this is very interesting to hear, and I see and heard that some of you were including the fact that potential donors or board members could be a typical client, and I think that's a good way to approach this. But I wanted to narrow our focus just for a moment to think about this, because I have worked with nonprofits who we get so involved in the fundraising and the board development and the other components of this that sometimes the end user, the end beneficiary, we want to make sure that they are thoroughly aware of our services and know how to refer. And you know, we may have the structure around the board and the donors and everything, but if we don't have those end users demanding services, and even to the point where you have a list of people that are a waiting list, then it's really hard to make the case that your services are in demand. And so sometimes we have to constantly remind ourselves that you know, we have to be focused on the impacting the lives of those who are totally out there in the general public who are going to be using our services, and then develop those networks of agencies and key people who are going to be referring those on a regular basis. So we want to build up demand for your services. And, you know, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Sometimes you can build an infrastructure and then go after the customers, but it's always better to really have huge demand for what you're doing and then make the case for support for you. The trick here is that because your nonprofits have limited resources, we've got to be as efficient as possible when we're trying to do this broader marketing. And it's just like any small business. You know, I used to teach small business owners how to do this kind of work. And what I always taught them was, don't try to reach everybody, but try to reach a referral network, pretty much like what Cynthia had described, which is a referral network of nonprofits for her, so that the end user would be in demand. Okay, so I'm going to mute because there is some background noise. Okay, so sorry about that, folks. There you go. Okay, so keep in mind that a potential partner for your partner network isn't necessarily another nonprofit. So it could be a business, it could be a government agency, a community college, or faith-based organization. And I know all of you are doing this to some degree, and we're just going to kind of go into this work a little bit with the hope that it might give you other ideas, or you might see where there's some opportunities to network or partner with some of the folks on the phone here too. And you all can see that there's a reason that you treat these partners as another layer of customer. And you have to consider what's the best way to reach them, what message you want to deliver to them, what action you want them to take. So this cultivation of partners is going to leverage your marketing efforts, and so that your resources are just going to be on developing that referral network, and then you're going to have this flow and this demand of the end user. And there's all kinds of other residual effects, positive effects that happen from this that we're going to explore too. So, but the focus of this discussion is on how to drive those end users so there's big demand for your services, and then you can make the case for support and people can get excited about what you're doing. Be sure to use the chat function if there's questions you might have that you want to ask everybody, or if you have comments or resources as we move along. So I would encourage everybody to do that. So your partners can provide access to the prospects. And the prospects are like, and again, I'm kind of using sales talk, but all of you describe your end users slightly differently, as a customer, as a client. So your typical clients could gather in a classroom, or they could come together at a conference or a meeting or some kind of social or artistic event. So your partner may allow you to present to this group or advertise or network with the attendees of this meeting, like a church social, or if you have a booth at a conference of a partner, something like that. You can share your message within the communications that your partner has, or you can post on their website or post on their blog, flyer post, something around the e-newsletter, that kind of a thing. So, so you can allow access through the communication piece and open doors. Your partner can introduce you to other partners, so they can see how that would work here for you to get that. They also would vouch for you. We have what's called the umbrella effect. So if you have a prestigious partner with a wide audience, your association with that partner may expand the way you are perceived to the public. And I like to use an example. I have a project, one of my big projects that I work on that I really love is I lead a collaborative in Southern California. And it's a collaborative that's composed of bankers and nonprofits and government agencies and universities that are all trying to develop business development for the Inland Empire. And so one of our prize partners are the regulators of the banks, FDIC, OCC, Federal Reserve Bank. And so just about every year we put on an event that is hosted by the bank regulators. And the first event, we were just flabbergasted because we had 100 people. I mean, we actually had to turn people away. It was so unexpectedly successful that by the association with these with the regulators, the FDIC, it really raised our profile. The Microenterprise Collaborative in Inland Empire raised our profile, so we were able to really build the partnership and the network quite a bit. So that made a huge difference for us. So that's the kind of thing of finding a partner that's already got some oomph for you. Okay. So when you're picking your partners, you're trying to figure out, well, who would be the best one? You want to think about, well, where does your client, where does the end user go? Where do they meet with others? I imagine most of you are pretty knowledgeable about about some of this, and be sure to share this again in the chat or when we have our discussion later. But you want to know, where do they hang out? Where do they go for assistance or information, like a library or church or social services? If you think participants of an event would also attend your event, that's where they hang out. Or how can you position yourself with the permission of that partner to encourage engagement with your organization in addition to what they're experiencing with your partner? So we want to get inside the head of the end user and think about, where would they go? How would they get information? Where do they, those are places where people make decision points about what services to participate in or how to connect or engage. So kind of, and again, this is the same kind of discussion I would have with small business owners when thinking about the end user, so they can build that network and have it be as, and really leverage your marketing. Okay. So again, want to just emphasize that there's some things, specific things that you can do, and I think some of you have done some of this already, so I'd love to hear about it in your, see, Holly, I see you have a question when you're saying client in regards to partners. Is it where your partners gather? So when I say client, and this is, I think it's important because I heard a little bit of a different use of that when everybody was doing their check-in. So there's an end user who benefits from your services. So like what I was prodding Jenny about, because she was talking about board members and other folks, which are also beneficiaries of your marketing. I mean, they would connect with your marketing potential volunteers. But when I say client or end user, I'm talking about the people that would go to the parks, for example, people that would go to the library, the ill and dying for the Friends of Hospice. So if there were nobody going to the parks and nobody wanting to read and nobody that knew about Friends of Hospice, it would be really hard to make a case for support. So we really want to create demand and really demonstrate impact for this client, this end user. So I just wanted to be clear with that. And so what I'm talking about when we develop partners, a network of partners who have access to those end users, you know, by really serving, treating those partners as customers and really having a connection with them so their end users are also yours end users, then you're really leveraging your marketing. Did that clear that up a little? I hope. So we're focusing today on how to develop a partner network, similar to what Cynthia described with other nonprofits who work with those who are ill or injured. So those nonprofits would be your network of partners who are going to make sure there's people using your services all the time. So, so you can present at a partners meeting, at our conference. I don't know if anyone has done that. Maybe we can talk about that. One thing, that Microenterprise Collaborative, we actually had small business programs and microlenders go to speak at groups of bankers to talk about their services. So rather than have an event, which we could also do that, we hold a public event and invite people, you can actually go to where they are and say, can we be a part of your regular meeting and do a presentation? You can form your own network or collaborative. And this is something I think is highly effective to really connect nonprofits in an area. If there are several of you that work with the same client base, you can come together and say, what are some of the big issues that we want to tackle, or what's one issue we can all get behind, and see if all of us can work together to make a difference and make an impact and move some numbers here. So you can form a network or collaborative. The network can be just an information network. Everybody share what they're doing so they're all on the same page and everybody's aware of all your services and programs. You can meet once a year or something like that. Or you can actually come together and say, let's see if we can form a collaborative to impact something significant in the community. And that helps you bond and then make some change together and then see how you're working more efficiently. And you start to see partnerships and collaborations and even mergers happen as people see that they're duplicating some work. So there's some efficiencies that happen from that. You can provide offers to your partners' clients. Let's say if you have a membership organization, then your partner has a members and you can give them discounts. And one of my favorite ways is to serve on a community committee. So bonds are really forged over collaborative community work. So public relations activities where you're serving on a committee, let's say you want to have more business customers, a network of business owners. You might want to join the chamber and then join a committee of the chamber where you come in contact with potential partners who will drive customers or clients to your nonprofit. So one of the trick is we want to also think about your partners as a customer itself. So you want to make sure you're conveying the benefit and we talked a little bit about the one-page business plan, about the difference between benefits and features, and I'll bring that up here in a minute just as a refresher. But so you want to make sure that when you're thinking about speaking in front of a partner group, that you have a pretty good idea of how to talk about what you do in terms of the impact or benefit. You have a special offer. You ask for action. So these are kinds of things to really. In fact, let me just. I'm going to send this off to you. I think I sent it off to you already, but I created this. Let's see here. I got to get this over. Excuse me a second. Everybody still with me? This is a little worksheet that I kind of customized for you guys. So I gotta get you off the. I can't read it if I see all of your shining faces here. So I have a 2-page worksheet that you can take back to your nonprofit and work on this. But it helps you kind of define how you think about your partners and the message you're going to provide them, and creating talking points. I just want to emphasize that. Let me just minimize this. Here we go. And here we go. Okay. So when you're going to do a presentation in front of a partner, or you're going to have a meeting with him or her, or you're going to do a presentation in a meeting, you want to think about what do those folks care about. You know, what do we do? You know, think about all the things that we do, know the benefits, and then know how to talk about what you do in terms of a benefit statement, and describe what you do in those terms. So I have these little exercises here that you can kind of walk through. And don't just assume that someone that's a potential board member is also going to be a referring partner, and everybody is excited about doing the same thing. Let me just skip to this example here. I use the example of, I just made this up, the Fort Bragg Youth Center. And so they do things like tutoring and scholarship counseling and on-the-job training. Those are the things they do. Those are the features. But think about the benefit or the positive result of using those features. And that's how you initiate those conversations, is talking about the benefits. Does all sound familiar from our one-page business plan training we did with the elevator speech? So I just made this up, but we talk, let's say you're introducing yourself at a chamber function. You talk about Fort Bragg Youth Center improves academic performance and increases opportunities for youth. That's talking about what you do in terms of the impact or the benefit, not just saying, oh, we offer a tutoring program and scholarship counseling and on-the-job training, and making people connect the dots about what that means in terms of impact. And this is important because it sets the stage for then understanding what different partners might care about. So if you were going to speak to a community college, they may care about something else that you do, PTA, or local businesses. So I know I used to do sales a long time ago, and I had to, every time before I went into a sales call, I had to think about, okay, what does this person care about? And how can I sift through all the things that we do and find something that's a hot button for that person that would engage them? So, so we want to be thoughtful before we just start doing a presentation. You know, here's, you know, you can prepare some talking points, and then we think about how we connect with them through the website, or what's the, you know, what kind of media, social media, or communication technique would best connect with that particular partner. So I have this little worksheet for you that you can exercise. I also have a couple of resources here that I'd recommend. Those 2 books definitely, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But this is a worksheet that you can take back to your board if you want, and just kind of, or a committee, and have them think through some of these exercises. And I think that might be helpful for you. Okay. one other little thing here. There are, I think most of you can, and most of you do this well, so I'm just reminding you that when you're developing partners for the purpose of getting more customers, end users that will benefit from what you do in the community, that you also develop a source of volunteers or potential board members. They could want to share marketing and fundraising efforts with you, so you have a partner with that and you can be more effective. Do a collaborative fundraising approach and bring funding from outside the community in. And they also may join with you on the public policy effort if you'd like to do that. So, so partnerships for the purpose of working with the same customer is, I think, has just some wonderful residual effects. And just a little word about agreements. If you're developing a connection with a partner, I would recommend that, you know, especially if it's over a period of time or there's any money involved, like you go after a grant and have several partners who are going to execute it with you, you actually have a memo. They'll do this and we'll do that, and everybody sign at the bottom. So there's some clarity around that. It doesn't have to be a legal document, but you may want to actually consider doing that as something that is clarifying how you're all going to work together. So that's enough of me talking. Sorry to, let's see if I can unmute you guys here. There we go. Let's see, Holly, are you up? Can you, let me just bring you up here.
I am. Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted, so is everyone else too, so. So Holly's been very kind. I was just talking to her. I saw what she was working on her one-page plan, and I just thought, you know, and I just, sorry to pick on you, Holly, but you seem like you were working hard on getting some partners, and you've been willing to speak a little bit about how that's going for you.
Absolutely, and I should add that, you know, this is a work in progress for all of us. So I did give this some thought, and we have a number of partnerships here at the Willett Center for the Arts, and a number of them talking about the benefit that we trade most often. Most often we are able to trade use of our rental space. We have a 2,000 square foot great room upstairs. It's a beautiful space. And so that has tended to be one of the areas that we can bargain with. We have a very limited marketing budget, and we have a very limited budget. So anything that some of the partnerships have centered around that. And so the reason why we are able to do this is because we have a partnership with the City of Willits, and they are not just our landlord. They rent to us for $1 a year, but they really are more than that. They ran the Willett Center for the Arts prior to us becoming a nonprofit, so they have been very useful as far as sharing information about how things work, I would say. They've been, if we have a question about something, they help us. In addition to that, when something horrible goes wrong with the building, they help us with that as well. So we try to keep very positive working relationships going with the City of Willits. Also, the Chamber of Commerce, you were mentioning, pretty much right off the bat, when we first became a nonprofit, we did a mixer with the Chamber of Commerce, actually, which was wonderful. It was sort of a party sharing with the community that the Art Center was under new management and reinvigorated, and Chamber, we became a member of the Chamber in exchange for rent, for rent. So the Chamber of Commerce hosts their Women in Business program upstairs in our great room, which of course is a benefit to us because it brings in 30 to 40 women each month, first Wednesday of the month, if anyone's in town, to be in our space, and they have programs, and it's just been a really neat partnership because we're trading them rental space and foregoing rental income in exchange for our chamber membership, which would, I think we're a nonprofit, so I think it's under like $100 a year because of our nonprofit status. But we consider the benefit we get from them to be really great. That example, however, of an area where it was an informal agreement that we really need to formalize. We tragically lost our the executive director of the chamber, and we still have excellent working organizations with the chamber president and things like that, but we should formalize that agreement also to make sure that we don't overtrade. I think the value of the chamber membership, I think we've given them probably more because it's a monthly meeting upstairs. It's probably more than the value, but it's worthwhile for us. In addition to that, the chamber is one of our marketing strategies. So if we post on the chamber's website on their calendar, they will send out all that information to their membership. So it's expanding our membership access. And in addition to that, they also send out Facebook reminders and stuff, which is a new aspect to posting on the chamber's Facebook page. So that's been really pretty great. This isn't exactly a partnership, but our sponsors and our caterers, in a way, a partnership with business. We now have sponsors that cover the cost of our posters. We have a show every month, and we send out postcards every month to all of our, it's a members plus list. So it's actually all of our members plus a few other folks. And so if you sponsor the poster and the show, your logo and name gets on the postcard that gets sent out to all of our membership. And that's great. Yeah, we have 3 of those, and it's covering our costs, which is wonderful. I mean, the cost of printing for each show, and it is, I think it's really added to our credibility. Willard's Furniture believes in the Art Center, and Savings Bank, exactly. So it allows us to sing their praises, but it raises our credibility, and it's covering our costs, which is brilliant. And we've done a similar thing with catering. We used to have each monthly gallery opening, the artist and artist friends and board members would bring potluck, basically, which in some ways, it was a great volunteer effort, but it was also exhausting. And so now we have a local catering business take each month. And so the caterer brings the food, and we promote with our advertising that we have. And that's fairly new, but it seems to be going pretty well. And other arts organizations, Catherine, you were just mentioning, that we might want to go forward on policy or something like that. And I could really see that. We work with the Arts Council of Mendocino County, as well as we're a member of that organization, but we're trying to reach out more with other arts organizations so that we're supporting each other. That's really been a process. And I could see, I don't know what form policy would take, but I could see that group getting together on public art policies, or we have a great local theater here that's a neighbor of us. So I could really see our different groups working together to help each other on that. We have done some work with community groups. We did present at Rotary, and I think those things are a credibility thing. It seems like when we speak to those organizations, it's getting the word out about what we're doing. And a number of our board members are all part of different organizations as well. So one of our board members works for the Community Foundation. One of our board members works for the food bank. So we have a lot of connections. I'm in Rotary, so we have a lot of connections around the community, and I think that's been very advantageous. And then finally with local media, that's been a key partnership with us. Local media, we have 2 local newspapers, and so we make sure to communicate a lot with them. So anytime we're having an event, we make sure that they know. They have been wonderful in turn, sharing, promoting our events. We basically let them know when the show is being set up, because newspapers like to get pictures of artists in action. But so we try to give them a lot of lead time. But they have done wonders for us as far as free advertising and things going on. And there's another organization, the Mendo Voice, which is a fairly new online newspaper. Mendo Voice or Mendo Voice?
Mendo Voice.
That they have advertising, and so we are looking into advertising with them yet again in exchange for rent. They're interested in doing a media conference upstairs with them and KZYX and a couple other local media outlets on journalism and things like that. And since we just recently had Amy Goodman upstairs in that great room, it seems like a great synergy. So we're hopefully going to be trading advertising for rental space in that situation as well. So that's kind of where we're at. Is there any?
Well,
yeah, it's a work in progress.
That's very
Thumbs
helpful. Yeah. Does
Well
anybody have questions about any of this? There's a lot of good things here that you just
Well,
described.
can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of sponsors as partners. That when I look at like Harvest Market or Rossi's doing a golf tournament, even the newspaper giving us publicity, that in some ways they are supporting and sponsoring us. What can we do for them? What do we do for them? I like that.
Excellent. Other questions you might have? I have a question because you're doing so, you're touching a lot of different types of partners. And how do you know what work? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it brings up something I wanted to bring up for everybody is how do you know what works and what's working? And how do you know to, do you ask when people come in how they heard about you?
No, but we should.
Yeah.
We should. And one of the things that Carol brought up earlier that we didn't mention as far as our ideal client is really volunteers. That's one of the big areas that we are in need of constantly is new volunteer energy. And so I would be interested, since we're specifically doing outreach right now, trying to get new volunteers in, the question would be we should try to find out how we hear from them. I mean, there's some things like our partnership with the chamber. I think that it's more just a sense of more people knowing about us, coming by that say, oh, I haven't been in here in ages. But we don't have much data. And in addition with the sponsorships, this is our first year with the sponsorship. So I think it'll behoove us to go to the sponsors next year, probably when we're having the conversation to see if they want to do it again, or maybe some other time, to ask them how that was for them. Did they get any, people coming in? Because that's the thing about print media is that, we're sending out postcards with their logos on them. So I'd be interested to know if they have any customers coming in because of their support of the Art Center, for example. Kind of a tricky question to ask if the answer is no.
Yeah.
But.
But they need to be asking, how did you hear about us? So everybody needs to be checking on this. One of the things that I think works really well, particularly with your partners, is if you see an influx of people coming in to the Art Center and they were chamber members, or they came because they went to the Women in Business and they decided to bring their family in, or they became members, particularly when people become members, if there's a way to capture, how they heard about you originally, then it's a wonderful circle back to that partner to say, wow, we're really getting people joining. And I just want to express appreciation for that. And, or something that circles back to a partner. Because I think we all take for granted the fact that partners start feeding, and hardly anybody gets thanked. We thank our donors, but our partners that are doing the referring, we need to just acknowledge. And the other side of that too is if you really see that if you did a presentation at a Rotary and all of a sudden you got 3 volunteers out of it, then you go, oh wow, what did I say now? I got to remember that because it worked. It was a good idea. So you know what approach worked and what maybe you should try a little bit different. So so it helps you be more analytic of your marketing methods because, again, just like a small business, you can't kind of keep putting it all out there all the time. You've got to do an analysis. Well, what's really feeding us and what should we just kind of drop off, you know?
Yeah, we were just thinking that when people rent the space, we could also probably ask them. Because I think a lot of the rentals are referrals from someone who was at some event. So it would be good to know, how did you know that we had a space for, you know, was it our website or was it through a referral or something like that? That could be useful.
Yeah. So any kind of way that you capture, you know, if you have a sign in for people that come to visit, you know, adding a line that says, how did you hear about us? Any membership form, anything that when people rent space, just adding a line, how did you hear about us? And then if someone can take on that task of just doing an analysis periodically, you'll start to see that there's some patterns, and you might thank the partner or really pay attention to the fact that maybe more energy can be put in that area and show, you know, which ones have the higher payoff. What questions also do you have of Holly? Anybody have any questions? That was very helpful. But let me put the discussion question up. There we go. So yes, I know all of you are doing this already pretty well. I'm not under any illusions that this is a new topic for all of you. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. But this is our discussion here. So let's hear a little bit about when you're developing partners, what have you learned works well? Just similar to what
I just have a quickie.
Yep. Okay. Well, I don't know why I do this. Okay. Go ahead.
The one big event we held.
Oh, Cynthia, let me stop you there. Could you put your computer on
mute?
The sound on mute. The sound on mute.
Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I couldn't figure out. I was trying to be able to not have to be on long distance and use my mic, but oh well. Next time.
Yeah.
We have this weird problem in that we've got money to give, but we can't give it just walk out in the street like you look like a sick person, I'm going to give it to you. We need to have it be vetted and referred by other agencies. And we have, I'm looking at the different vehicles, trying to get to the nurse practitioner, the case manager, the person who is the desk person at Safe Passage or Food Bank, for example, is harder than getting to the executive director. So I talk to the executive directors and they say, oh yeah, they were like fired up because they saw what we did, they heard examples, but trying to get it translated down to the individuals. So what works well is to go and speak, to staff meetings. Well, we can maybe do that once a year for 10 minutes. They're very busy. So what works well, we did the best thing we ever did, and we keep threatening to do it again, is to invite. We had 30 people to lunch one time, and the hospital actually funded the lunch, and we had them, and we talked about it. And the cool thing about it was they heard about Friends of Hospice and what we could do for their individual clients. But what was the best thing was they were going, that's what you look like, reaching across the way. They were linking up with each other. So we were forming a partnership of partnerships. And it was very powerful. And we got a lot of referrals, and we worked actually on a bigger problem, which is transportation, and kind of did a little leadership role then. But remember, we have no paid staff. We have no administrative, so that's not really something we can do a lot of, but it's an unmet need. So I think that in terms of what developed well is we found a need that wasn't being met by any other organization. And for a minute there, we met it, and that gave us more credibility. People remembered us a little bit more, but it's nothing we could sustain unless we couldn't sustain that. But that worked. pulling food, everyone says food, bringing together for an event where you feed them. Lunchtime was perfect. So that was the thing that we did that worked the best. And we're still sustaining from that after a while. So
Sounds great.
I want to do it again.
That you were able to provide that convening, like you're saying, that was an unmet need. I mean, that's really kind of a key role. Because what I also wonder about is if there are other, nursing organizations or other groups like that that gather on a regular basis that you could.
Amazingly, no. I was going to hit, I had a brilliant idea. I mean, it wasn't my idea. Somebody on the board had a brilliant idea of like the ministerial association, the churches. Oh my God, they should know, right? There is no ministerial association. We have the minister for one of our churches works in Willits and in Cloverdale and someplace else. The churches can't, even the bigger churches really can't afford to have a minister. So they're running around left and right and even to getting together. So like maybe one-on-one, but that kind of thing. Yes. And there is no, all the doctors get together or all the nurses or all the case managers. It's really getting to the key people and hoping that and I like this idea. How did you learn about it? It's never occurred to me to say when somebody calls me, I just assume that it was because of a luncheon we did 5 years ago, but I don't know. Maybe they could have said, my friend works at the food bank. So I think that's a good question even for us.
Did the hospital feel satisfied with their investment of hosting that lunch for you, underwriting it?
Yeah, well, we offered to pay for it. I think they just forgot to bill us, but I even asked twice. The hospital wants to look good, desperately needs to look good. So there is that.
I guess I'd encourage you to go back to them and continue. I mean, you were serving them at the same time that they helped you do something that sounds like it was really important.
It's really the time. It's really, we need to, and this is what I'm working with Catherine, and we're going to meet again in a couple of days. I'm so glad, Catherine. And I thought I found somebody that we could pass off tasks to, and maybe she will be later, but you can't do it now. I mean, we need to find some delegating because our board can't do it all. We just can't. And that's the stymied place we have. But I like this more informal stuff that you're doing, the formal and the informal partnerships. But we need somebody that you can, the neurotic, I can't do it now, kind of thing. So
Holly had a question about where you're located, Cynthia. What's your
we don't have this is it. This is my office, my paper office. I'm a therapist here in town. This is what I do, and I am the president and chief. I'm the unpaid executive director. So
you're on the coast, though. I think she needs to know that.
So. Oh yeah, in Fort Bragg.
You're on the coast.
We serve the whole coast.
Okay.
We serve the whole coast.
Who else wants to talk a little bit about the partnerships that works well for them? I'd love to hear from everybody.
This is Kristen from Tapestry, and I just wanted to say something really quick about the partnerships that we have developed and what we've learned about that's really important. Our partnerships tend to be with law enforcement and schools and those places that can send referrals to us for children that need counseling services. And the biggest thing that we've learned is that we need to really follow through on our end. We need to prove ourselves because in such a small community, and especially when we're serving the real rural areas like Covelo and Laytonville, which our contract covers, if we drop the ball, it's almost impossible to regain that trust. So if they are supporting us, we need to be 110% supporting them in return. And that's been really, really important for us in our partnerships.
Excellent. Do you have an idea of how you're going to do that to connect with those folks or to circle back?
I mean, especially up in the rural areas, it's really just being present when we say we're going to be. So if we are going to do a presentation, then we need to be there when we say we will and follow through with that. And I think that our past, and we've been around for 15 years or so, that was happening in the past. And so we had this mountain to overcome to really prove ourselves again, that with new staff that we have, that we are here to fulfill our mission. And that has been a real challenge in developing our partners and maintaining those relationships, is overcoming that past reputation and proving that we're not that same agency anymore. So I guess my message is that if you have a partnership, protect it.
Okay. Well, one of the things that helps with that is a case statement or some of your materials to really shape and talk about your successes and your impact in the community. Has that been addressed for you, or is that something on your list?
Can you say that again?
Sure. So one of the things, especially if you're in a situation where you've kind of revived the organization or you're trying to shift the direction, it may be a matter of changing, and again, this is a marketing question, changing your branding and changing the way you talk about the organization and really emphasize the successes and the impact in the community in documents and your website.
Right.
And just do a push for that so that everybody sees it's a new day.
Right. And we're kind of in the midst of that. We've been going through sort of like a rebirthing process over the last year and a half, where we are redefining who we are in the community and doing a whole lot of outreach to try to reestablish our place here in Mendocino County.
Okay.
I would just chime in on that, which is that when we, shortly after forming our new nonprofit, you know, we've been around for a long time, but we were revitalized. We took on a painting of our building, which sounds like a small thing, but it was really it was our fundraiser. And so it was the main vehicle in which we were communicating to to the community. And we used that as a way to sort of as our coming out party in a way. You know, we're repainting the building. It's a small thing, but it was a big statement to the community that we had, kind of like you're saying, you know, we were rebranding ourselves, and that's the focus. When I went and talked to Rotary, that ended up, you know, that was sort of like the in, and then we talked about all the other things that we do. So I was just thinking about that we still get comments like we're actually a revitalized organization, but people, by hearing about the revitalization of the building, you know, they sort of they connected those two.
That's very good. That's a very visual way to demonstrate that it's a new day. We've got a reset button. Others?
Sean from Laytonville here, from the Friends of the Library.
Okay.
Okay, we have a deep relationship with Healthy Start here in town. They are our fiscal agent, and that has worked really well for us. When we first started, we thought we wanted to be independent, but we quickly found out that we don't know enough to be allowed out of the house by ourselves. And so Healthy Start has been really great about teaching us how to run things and how to partner with other people. We are co-tenants with another group in our building, and they're a little territorial. And so, you know, the people at Healthy Start have been really helpful in guiding us in dealing with them so that we don't, you know, because we certainly don't want to have any hard feelings, and we want to have be good neighbors. And so that has been really helpful. And we have been able to refer people back to Healthy Start for other services that we aren't able to provide. And we're really happy with it.
Excellent. Excellent. Who else wants to share what they're learning from their partnership development there? What works well, or what's something that's you would never try again because you learned this lesson kind of thing too?
I've got a question for Sean.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that we need to do is formalize our agreements with our partnerships. sharing space with your territorial co-tenant, is that formalized or is it kind of informal?
That is informal. They were there before us, and they are also under Healthy Starts umbrella. And so, and they've had a recent change of leadership too. So, yeah, so having, yeah, no, that hasn't been formalized. In fact, because we're having our birthday party coming up next weekend, the weekend after, I'm going to need to talk to the director over there. And I'm looking to Jema to guide me in, you know, what is the best way to approach her without stepping on our toes, because we certainly want to rearrange some of their furniture that's in our hall. So, but we want to, you know, we want to be nice and we want to play nice. And so I'm actually looking forward to opening that conversation with the other director, because she hasn't been open really to talking to me. You know, she wants to talk to everything through Jema, but it seems kind of silly to keep Jema in the middle of everything. So that's a learning curve, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Is this a moment where including Jema in it might be a stepping off to then develop your own relationship in a conversation, in a face-to-face?
Yes, it might be. It might be. I mean, I'll go with her guidance on that, whether she thinks it's good to just make the phone call directly or have the three of us get together or whatever. But I'm looking forward to, you know, getting some kind of relationship with my next door neighbor.
These are little challenges here with that, but I wish you the best on that one. Those are always tricky.
Oh, thank you.
Well, let me. Did someone else have something?
I was going to talk a little bit about this is Janet at Flockworks.
Oh,
and the more I hear everyone else, the more questions it raises about what we've been doing and what we need to be doing. It reinforces this organizational change that we're going through. For 10 years, we've been doers. We've been out doing to, in a sense, redefine how creativity factors into the community more broadly. And we've worked with teachers, we've worked with lots of other organizations, but we've been so busy being the doers that we haven't looked at the marketing side of it. We've only begun to ask for other people's support. So in a way, it has my head spinning about, whoa, what we've done in the past and what we need to be doing and how to make that change, because we are, yeah, exactly. We are at that moving forward. We're moving in the way we've been moving, but we want to be shifting. So it's sort of like that dual dilemma of what you've been doing it well, and there's interest, but how you need to be working takes your resources in a different direction. And just the dilemma of this change point just keeps getting reinforced by this, because we also are all volunteer-based. This year is the first time we've ever funded somebody to take one of the initiatives, and she's doing it as an artist leader, so not as a staff person, not, you know, developing sort of different relationships with people, but how to make this change point from an all volunteer-based organization to one where you have enough resources to be okay with spending some of your small resource to pay somebody to do some of what you've been doing. I know, Cynthia, you've got to feel exactly the same way.
I do, and I think we're at that breaking point.
Yeah, so are we, and it's sort of like which priority takes precedence for that next investment, because we do have some money in reserve that we haven't had. We've accumulated a little working pot, but it's which step to move forward on. Is every one of these topics is sort of like, it's, you could invest in that, well, you could invest in that. And I know, it just, very good questions, but I feel almost more more questions rising out of each one of these sessions than answers.
I know one of the things that, and that I really run into with our nonprofits on the in Mendocino County is a lot of you are at that spot where you need to move from being a volunteer-run organization to having a staff person that's paid. And I love working in that space because I always want to encourage folks to really embrace that developmental stage and not realize, you know, some folks I work with, it's a matter of pride that they keep the organization at a certain level as a volunteer organization, and they won't let go of that. And we need to take a look at our organizations as growing beings, as things that need to stretch, and how that as the community needs us more, needs the nonprofits more, that we can meet that need if we have the infrastructure in place that will properly then grow and serve the community. And it works in it kind of shoots ourselves in the foot if we just kind of keep it tamped down so we don't move to that other level. And sometimes part of that is just that we don't have the right board members in place who envision and are comfortable with that growth. So that's part of the growing pains, but we have to embrace that and hope that we have people in place that will say, yes, let's get to this next level, and we love it and we're ready for it, and we can have a better impact in the community for it. So
I wanted to, if I could say,
sure,
we're at a place that our board is really the only volunteers we have, and the idea of having more volunteers to help with, you know, these events or doing some other things, but without somebody that's, you know, really invested, whether because they're paid or whatever, which usually paid, that can keep the volunteers going, we're losing volunteers, both in the hospice program, you know, whatever Friends of Hospice, you know, what we could be doing is limited because we don't have anybody that really has the time and space or skill level. So I think that we're losing out on all the truly being a volunteer organization with maybe a paid volunteer coordinator, you know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we do have some board members that say, if we're going to be doing anything, everybody should be doing anything for fun. And we even like, she was angry that we hired a part-time bookkeeper. Like, she should be volunteering. And I said, I know her. She volunteers for a lot of other things, but hospice isn't one of them. You know, it was like, and she finally saw that. But you're right. It is a struggle in our board. Less and less so as we're all becoming aging out and exhausting. So.
I was just going to chime in for the Art Center, because we had always been a volunteer organization ever since, and there was a certain amount of burnout going on. So I was brought in. Of course, the Art Center cannot afford staff. You know, we don't have employees. But I was brought in as a paid manager. So I get $1,000 for 64 hours a month. And of course, it ends up being a lot more than that, hours-wise. But I think it has been really beneficial for the organization. But even for me, you know, I feel like I need a volunteer coordinator as well. So it is a balance. It's a balance also to not get a manager and then have your board members check out. You know, you don't want to sell the idea that, oh, we'll hire somebody and then we don't have to put in almost the same amount, if not more, effort. But in theory, the expense of having me here, in theory, you know, I'm growing the budget so that they can afford to do that. And it's almost sort of like the paying yourself first idea in your personal finances, you know, making sure that you're being covered. It's like, you know, we need to make sure that the organization is going to keep going and that someone's here to answer the phone and just do these kind of basic rental. You know, as I mentioned, rental is one of the big areas that we get our income, communicating with artists, that sort of thing. So I think it is helpful having that consistency. But we are sort of right at the beginning of that. This is only the second year of having a manager. It's our first year of having that. Yeah,
our first year.
Yeah, so it's.
Holly, do you have somebody like yourself who wants to work here on the coast?
There is lots of great people on the coast, actually.
Well, maybe we can talk later.
Yeah. The question is, for a fairly, it works for me because I'm 2 blocks away, and I don't need a big income. Not that it wouldn't be lovely, but it's been a good partnership for us as far as.
That's what we're really. I think what we're really looking for is that next right person that can play that broader role than just one, than just marketing, than just one thing, because we are so multifaceted in what we're doing. We need somebody who understands the combination, and that's what I haven't found. We have money. I feel like we could invest that way if we had the right person.
So we're actually going to devote a whole section to this whole discussion. Because we saw several of you were at that space about staffing and volunteer, and what's a volunteer job and what's a staff job, and how do you go about it. So
Absolutely.
I'm so thrilled that all of you are helping each other, and looks like there might be some conversations going offline. So I appreciate that. I see Holly's got a question for Janet in the chat line about your partnership. So
I got to put my glasses on.
There you go. So let me move us to the next slide just to make sure. One of the things I just wanted to touch on, I just love this slide that Sue's the one that does our slides. So this one's food for thought. Isn't that a great slide? It's a picture for those just on the phone. It's a picture of a light bulb with a bunch of food in it, a bunch of vegetables. So
only healthy food, though, I have to point out.
Yeah, only the healthy ones. Yeah. But the question I have here is, what marketing methods are important for a nonprofit to have when you're developing partners? So an example would be, I'm hearing Cynthia talk about the hospital event. So rather than continue to have events, what are some ways that you can stay in contact with the people that came to the event and develop and nurture those relationships so that individual partnerships can start up, or maybe people will stay more gelled together. So I'm going to just briefly shift to, let's see here, a couple of the resources that I wanted to suggest to you. And again, those are at they're listed at the end of the document that I emailed to you earlier, and I'll email it again. I emailed you the slides and the worksheet together in one PDF. But this book right here, I love this book because it's called The Network Nonprofit, Connecting with Social Media to Drive Change. So if any of you are using social media, this really talks about how to use social media for gaining customers, getting donations, really raising your awareness in the community. And it's really one of the best books that I've seen about how nonprofits can use the social medias. And Facebook is usually the top one that is used by nonprofits, but there's always others here. So this one talks about how to do that. So Beth Canner also has a blog and a regular workshops, and she speaks regularly. So she's a wonderful someone to just get on her website and sign up for her blog. The other one that I recommend is Kiwi LaRue, and she is, I'm bringing up on this website for those who are just on the phone, she's written the Nonprofit Marketing Guide. And she also does this annual, I'm going to bring this up, this 2017 Trends Report. So she surveys all the nonprofits to find out how many people, what do we do, a monthly newsletter or a quarterly newsletter? Do we do, how often do we get on Facebook? So she actually surveys everybody so she can find out what everybody's doing and what they're learning. So she's got a ton of free resources on this website, and you can also sign up for her blog and free resources. So she's got downloadable free ebooks. She's got online training. But this, I would definitely recommend this book, which is the Nonprofit Marketing Guide, which is a great overview of marketing for everyone. So, so those are the two resources for the session here that I just really want to make sure that everyone's aware of, and we want to move forward that. Just real quick, did anybody else? I mean, we got into a really interesting topic around staffing, which I thought was pretty interesting. Is there any other burning question you might be holding that you want to ask real quick of anybody of the group?
How do you get younger people interested in non-profiteering? I mean, and
like serving on the board and volunteering.
Serving on the board, either getting, maybe it's an event, maybe it's not about being on the board, but more active committees or events. You know, reaching out. We're Facebooking and stuff. I guess that's for grandparents. People, I'm not tweeting. I'm not, you know. How do we let people know what we're doing, and we want to do something interesting?
Art Center. I was just going to say that we've had, and was that Sean from the?
Cynthia.
I was going to say that we've had some luck with getting younger artists involved. So we actually are having art shows with we're specifically have targeted some younger artists, so then they'll do a show, and then we certainly have noticed some younger people coming to support their friends, basically. We haven't seen it necessarily carry on. We're also hopefully going to be partnering. One of the partnerships I didn't list that Carol mentioned is the schools. You know, we have field trips and things like that, and some classes, and we work with the kids club during the summer to come and take classes here. But in addition to that, recently we've had some outreach from the charter school, our local charter school, about having an intern. And so we haven't done that yet, but I'm interested to see if so an unpaid intern is going to be part of their curriculum. So this would be someone who's interested in the arts. And so I've got a whole slew of stuff that I would love help with as far as data entry and you know, getting the emails from our sign-in list into. We've had some success using MailChimp, kind of professionalizing our newsletters that go out online. But we've had some luck getting young people involved, although the challenge is they can be flaky. Young people can be flaky.
Okay, good ideas. Anyone else about ideas or another question? Okay, we will talk a little bit more about volunteers in that same session that I just talked about the staffing and the volunteers. So, so I think that'll be helpful. So that one, yeah, building capacity to do the work, contractors and volunteers. That's our June session, because we just saw that a lot of you were dealing with that. But our next session on April the 12th is going to be increasing revenue. So we'll be taking a look at specifically what types of revenue, because that could include a lot of different things. It could be grant writing, it could be getting sponsorships from corporations and small businesses. If anyone has individual donor campaigns, if anyone has any specific aspect of this that you'd like to see us cover, just send me an email as a suggestion. So that's going to be on April the 12th at 10 o'clock. So make sure those are on your calendar. We also, at that session, when we do our check-ins, we're just going to do a brief update on your one-page business plans. So we'll do that there. That's kind of midstream, not quite midstream. So, and then the next time we ask you to do a report out will be the graduation ceremony. So we just are hoping that you're working away on your one-page business plans and getting some things done. Hopefully all of you have gotten that approved by your board, and people are taking a look at the work to be done and helping you with it. So we'll ask you to do just a little report out on that. And if things are not going as fast as you like, report on that too. That's fine too. Okay. And so just be prepared to share your progress report. Also, if anybody thinks of other marketing resources, to be sure to share those with the whole group. And share what you've learned today with the rest of the board and volunteers or people that are staff, and make a commitment to move forward on your one-page business plans. And that's what I have for all of you today. Thank you very much. It was a very enjoyable session. I really love seeing everybody's faces. So if people can try to get on screen and hit the webcam, I think that would be fun. But thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you all.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye, Jenny. and the Laytonville group. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Everybody.
Here.
Don't hang up on Janet. She's
Sorry, I was typing. I'm typing messages.
wow.
And do we have each other's contact information? I apologize. Was that on that email that you sent out, Catherine?
You can reply all to an email that I sent out, but I also have a page that I can send to you, all of you, that has everybody's email list. So I'll send that out again. Okay.
That would be great. Thank you.
My information is on our website, or the best way to reach me is wcarental@gmail.com. But yeah, I've already thought of other networking things, like the Laytonville Library. We just had an artist that recycles old books to make beautiful sculptures. We should have done something with the Laytonville Library.
Oh, really?
Holly, we also have a show coming up that's the Art of Letter, Word, and Book. So I'd love to know about that artist. I was just about to send out a call to artists for our May show.
Oh, great. Laura Wiechek, but I'll,
Yeah.
Laura, yeah.
We need lots of things we need to talk about.
Okay, we'll be together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.